I could have your attention, please. Welcome to the Rutherford County Judicial Center. My name is Royce Taylor. I'm the new presiding judge, thanks to Chancellor Wilson having an election in my absence.
I'll pass the torch.
Okay. So I get to enjoy these duties now to welcome you here to our new Judicial Center. There are lots of dignitaries here, and I'm not going to name everyone, but I do want to thank one person in particular. Mayor Ernest Burgess has been instrumental in seeing this building get built and making sure we had the proper financing and herding it through construction. He's got one more day and a wake-up, according to Jeff Davidson, how they calculate this. So I want us to give Mayor Burgess a big hand for what he's done. And I see his replacement has just showed up, our new Mayor Ketron, so we're pleased to have him here. I'm going to turn this over to Steve Daniel. Steve has done a wonderful job in trying to preserve some of our history. Judge Steve Daniel was one of our early judges in the judicial building when we moved into the last judicial building, although he and I both started in the old courthouse before we had the last judicial building. So this is our third courthouse. It'll be my last, I'm sure. So, Judge Daniel, if you'll tell us about your project and what it entails.
Well, I appreciate this opportunity. Let me put my water down. Wow, there's so many people to thank. And I want to begin by saying a great big thank you to Ernest Burgess for the leadership and looking forward to the legal community's needs for now and in the future. It's profound. We really needed this facility, and we needed it a long time ago, and it will serve a long time into the future, I'm sure. But when we started this project, when I started the project, there are several people I want to recognize that made it happen. And of course, Mayor Burgess and Jeff Davidson, I went to see him about this when the construction of the building was going on. And through his efforts, and they were mighty efforts, he put me in touch with Adam Nicholson. And Adam is back over here, and Adam put me in touch with Jim Alderman. And Jim is right here. And Adam and Jim, they looked at my project and decided it wasn't such a good idea as it was presented, but they came up with even a better one. So I appreciate their efforts in bringing this together. So I want to recognize some other people. Suzanne Keith McCord of the Tennessee Trial Lawyers Association is here. And we have the director of the administrative office of the court, Ms. Tate. Debbie Tate is here, and there are dignitaries that we want to recognize that are being here today with us. Susan Daniel is back in the back, and she's raising her hand right now. Susan did a lot of work, historical work, that dealt with some bios dealing with judges, which you'll see their names here, that were leaders way back in the beginning of statehood. She's done work on the bios of judges who have served on the circuit side. Didn't get the chancellors, sorry, Bob, but on the circuit side coming forward. And those bios and that work I had published, and my wife over here has got about 30 copies of that for those of you who would like to get a glimmer of the bios of some of those people who have served. And they've served with distinction over these many years and will be recognized up here. But I appreciate her efforts. Greg Tucker, I don't see him, but he did a history of the judiciary here. That was a part of the document handed out in April when the building was opened. And so that gives you a little glimmer of the history. So Of course, I want to recognize my lovely wife, Laura Daniel, who puts up with me with these projects. Glad I got that in. I'd been in trouble. Okay. Now, I want to take you back 38 years ago. That was when my experience as a circuit judge began. It's hard to believe it's been that long. I was 12. My secretary, Betty McRae, was 10, but we made it through it, okay? And so I was the only circuit judge in Rutherford and Cannon County from 1980 to 1984. And it was busy. It was even busy then. You can imagine that prospect. But in the old courthouse, they call it the historical courthouse now. And it was truly historical at that time because it was in very bad repair. I looked at a picture the other day from my swearing in, and there is a brown extension cord hanging down, which is plugged to the clock that operated above the bench. So it was different from what it is now. But in that court facility, in the back of the room, was a shadow box built into the wall that had these little plaques. And there were about 25 of them. And they represented the judges who had served in that courtroom or in the state up to that point in Rutherford County. So I didn't think much about that. 1982, we were moved to the Judicial building on the square. And later, many years later, that building, the old courthouse, the historical courthouse, was renovated. And in that process, that entire facility was raised. And all the, if you remember the old courthouse, there was actually where the balcony is now was another floor. And across the across a small hallway from where the circuit court was a courtroom that we had one general sessions judge. It was Judge Buckner, and Kathy's here representing his family. And so he did the civil cases, the criminal cases, the probate cases, the juvenile cases, and anybody else that stumbles in, he took care of those cases too, and he worked around the clock. But that was the operation at that point in time. And when the renovations took place, these little plaques were saved, and they were saved by Jim Clayton. So Jim calls me up one day, and he says, you know the shadow box, I've got all the contents of that. Well, I said, okay, Jim, you and I, we'll get this put back up in the Judicial building. Well, 20 years went by, and we never did get it done. And so he left office, and when he did, he called me up, and he says, I've got these in my office, come get them. And you'll be able to maybe get this project working. And so I did. And I had in my mind to try to do this project for many, many years. So when I went to talk to Jeff Davidson, and I showed him my little plaques, Jeff is an old military guy, and he appreciates history and the history of an organization. So he put me in touch with Adam, and we discussed this at the same time that Brother Shacklet was showing all of the pictures that would make this collage out here. That's such a beautiful addition to this facility. And in that process, they looked at this, they looked at the design of the building, and they soon concluded that this wouldn't work here. And then they went to helping me present and put this together, this display, which will be a display that will not only recognize those who have served in the past, but those who will serve in the future. So we're looking forward, not backward, in this particular presentation and display. And for that reason, I'm very appreciative for their design ideas and their implementation or help in implementing this project. Now, the document that Laura's got, that Susan Daniel put together, gives a lot of information that's really interesting about this district. and about the people who have served. And I just want to talk a little bit about the mighty Eighth, because I was the last circuit judge in the 8th Judicial District. The first circuit judge in the 8th Judicial District was a person called William Cannon Houston, and this is his little plaque. He served from 1894 to 1904, and he lived in Woodbury. Now, here's an interesting fact about Judge Houston. When he left the bench in 1904, guess what he did? Bobby ran for Congress and was elected and served 16 years. So that's sort of demonstrative of a lot of other of these judges who, after service in the judiciary, went on and served in other places. Historically, one of the judges that'll be represented here is Judge, not Crittenton, but see, I've forgotten already. But he left here and became the governor of Louisiana in the 1800s. So anyway, Clyburn, got the wrong name. Clyburn is the name. So anyway, there's a lot of interesting history in the document that we have. So this display will be something that I think can be proud of going forward. It will reflect diversity that is coming and has come. I saw Donna Scott Davenport. Where'd she? Here she is, right here. I had the pleasure of swearing her in as the juvenile judge in 2000, first female to serve in this district, I believe. Is that right? I had the pleasure of swearing in Larry Brandon as an attorney, the first African American who served here as an attorney and also served as a general sessions judge. And right now, we have a blank spot for the 5th Division of Circuit Court that should be decided. And 2 out of 3 of the potential applicants are female, so we may have a female circuit judge in the future. So these things, the times have changed. The expansion of diversity has occurred, which is well needed. And we look forward to an exciting future of Rutherford County and a vibrant judicial and legal community that serves everyone on an equal basis. So would my helpers here take these off, and I hope you enjoy these displays. I'll tear the whole thing off.
I'll come right over there next. Don't break it.
Before I end, I'd like to ask, I've tried to reach out to everyone I could, and I want to recognize the families of past judges who are here, and I see Lynn Clayton, which I appreciate you, but would you raise your hand? And did Meredith get to come? Meredith get to come? Okay. And I've already recognized Judge Brandon. Judge Corlew's here with us. Who else? Family-wise? I have Ms. Siskin here, who is representing Keith. Who else have I missed? Oh, Ms. Stegall. I should have represented. Let me tell you about Whitney Stegall. He served from 74 to 84 as a chancellor in the 8th District and stayed on and did more terms as a chancellor in the 16th Judicial District Division. And then he hadn't had enough. He came back and served 2 years as a circuit judge too. So he got the full treatment. Thank you for being here and making this possible.
Since I'm giving up my duty as presiding judge, I just want to, again, thank Steve Daniel for all the hard work he's done in getting this display done. He's worked diligently for many years, and he was a long-term circuit judge, then a senior judge, and too many things to talk about he's done. So we really appreciate his efforts. Thank you, Steve.
My name's Adam Nicholson. I'm with Gresham Smith & Partners Architects. We were the lead designers for this Judicial Center. Through this process, we always knew that public art was a big component of the design and development. That also embraces history. We knew that also needed to be a component and have a strong visual presence here in this center. During the process of design, Deputy Mayor Davidson introduced us to Judge Daniel, who had salvaged a series of plaques honoring previous judges throughout the history of this county. We talked a lot about how it would be a fantastic way to integrate those and the importance of honoring those that have served and those that are to serve in the future in this facility. Ultimately, I feel like we came up with a great hybrid of honoring those plaques themselves and making something authentic of today, and that also allows for some flexibility in the future to honor those that serve in the future as the county grows and diversifies and just expands.
Well, we've had a wonderful event this afternoon. We've been able to unveil and recognize many of our judges, all of them that we could identify that have served with dignity and honor here in our county, and anything that we can do to preserve the history of our system, of our heritage here that's happening, and give credit to those that credit is due is really meaningful. And we just want to say thank you, especially to Senior Judge Steve McDaniel, for making this happen. And he happened to have the names of a number of those that served over many years ago and even currently. So we put up these plaques here that will memorialize their service, their commitment, and their importance, contribution they've made to what's happening here in Rutherford County in our judicial system. So it's really a pleasure to say that they have documented this with a little bit of biography information about each of these names that are up there. That'll be meaningful, and as time goes on, this will even be more important so that they can see really what their accomplishments were and the time that they served, and a little bit about their personal history. I just want to say thank you to all of our judicial community for their participation and their support in this project and in this, identification and support of those that have served and gone before us.